What if one habit is silently blocking the peace, joy, and abundance you have been seeking? Many people believe their greatest obstacle is a lack of money, opportunity, health, or support. But ancient wisdom points somewhere else. It suggests that the way we speak about life shapes the way we experience life. And no one understood this more deeply than Jesus. Again and again, before moments of healing, provision, and transformation, he did something most people overlook. Gave thanks. Not after the miracle. Before it, not after the answer appeared. Before it, ancient Aramaic traditions preserved a word connected to this state of blessedness, gratitude, and inner abundance. That word is tuba. Most people have never heard it, yet its meaning may contain one of the most important lessons for transforming the way you live. Stay with me until the end, because what tuba truly means may completely change how you face challenges, receive blessings, and experience the presence of God in your daily life. The modern world teaches people to focus on what is missing. From the moment they wake up until the moment they fall asleep, many are surrounded by messages telling them they need more. More money, more success, more recognition, more possessions. The mind becomes trained to notice lack before abundance. Over time, this creates a subtle but powerful habit. People begin measuring life through absence rather than presence. Instead of noticing what has been given, they focus on what has not yet arrived. Instead of recognizing blessings, they become preoccupied with problems. Without realizing it, complaint becomes a daily language. Ancient spiritual teachings understood this danger. They recognized that attention functions like a lamp. Whatever receives attention grows stronger in awareness. When the mind constantly focuses on lack, life begins to feel defined by lack. When attention shifts toward gratitude, perception itself begins to change. This brings us to the Aramaic word tuba. Most translations reduce it to blessed or happy, yet its meaning reaches much deeper. Tuba points toward a state of spiritual fullness. It describes the inner condition of someone who recognizes divine goodness even before circumstances become perfect. This is precisely why the Beatitudes spoken by Jesus carry such power. They do not describe people whose lives are easy. They describe people whose awareness has become aligned with divine reality. Their blessing is not dependent upon external conditions. It arises from something deeper. In mani wale tuba is the opposite of complaint. Complaint focuses on what is absent. Toob recognizes what is already present. Complaint narrows perception. Tuba expands it. Complaint magnifies fear. Toob strengthens trust. Perhaps this is why gratitude has appeared in nearly every spiritual tradition throughout history. It is more than good manners. It is a way of seeing, and according to the teachings of Jesus, the way we see determines the way we live. One of the most remarkable patterns in the life of Jesus appears just before his miracles. Most people focus on the miracle itself and miss what happened moments earlier, yet those moments often contain the deepest lesson. Consider the feeding of the multitudes. Thousands stood before him. The available food seemed completely insufficient. From a human perspective, there was every reason to complain about scarcity. There was every reason to focus on limitation. But that is not what Jesus did. He took what was available and gave thanks. The miracle came after gratitude. The same pattern appears elsewhere. Before calling Lazarus from the tomb, Jesus spoke words of thanksgiving to the Father. Again, gratitude appeared before the visible result. Faith expressed itself through appreciation rather than complaint. This principle challenges the habits of modern life. Most people postpone gratitude until conditions improve. They tell themselves they will be thankful once the problem disappears. They will rejoice once the answer arrives. They will trust once they see evidence. Ancient wisdom reverses the process. Gratitude becomes the beginning rather than the end. It becomes an act of alignment, a declaration that divine goodness is present even when circumstances remain uncertain. This is the heart of tuba. It is not pretending difficulties do not exist. It is choosing not to let difficulties define reality. It is remembering that God's presence is greater than any temporary challenge. When practiced consistently, this perspective begins transforming the inner world. Anxiety loses some of its grip. Fear becomes less convincing. Hope becomes easier to sustain. The individual starts noticing opportunities, blessings, and guidance that previously went unseen. And as you will discover in the next chapter, the ancient meaning of tuba goes even deeper than gratitude. It reveals a hidden connection between abundance, joy, and spiritual authority that many people spend their entire lives searching for. If you've made it this far, it was not by accident. Few are truly ready to go deeper, and that's perfectly fine. But if something in you is saying yes, the study guides are pinned common, and the best is yet to come in the next chapters. You'll discover what could change everything for you. Most people think gratitude is merely an emotion. They see it as a polite response to something good that has already happened. Ancient spiritual traditions saw it differently. They viewed gratitude as a state of consciousness capable of transforming the way a person experiences reality itself. This deeper understanding is hidden within the meaning of tuba. The word does not simply describe happiness. It points toward a condition of inner alignment. A person living in TOOBA is not waiting for life to become perfect before experiencing peace. They have learned to recognize divine goodness, even while walking through uncertainty. This perspective changes everything. When people focus only on problems, their minds become trapped in a cycle of fear and limitation. Their attention repeatedly returns to what is wrong. Over time, this becomes their normal way of seeing the world. Jesus consistently invited people into a different way of living. He directed attention toward faith, trust, and the presence of God. Even in difficult circumstances, he encouraged people to look beyond appearances and recognize a deeper reality at work. This is why gratitude carries so much power. It shifts the focus from scarcity to provision. It moves awareness away from fear and toward possibility. The external situation may remain unchanged for a time, but the inner atmosphere begins transforming immediately. Many people spend years searching for abundance while constantly speaking the language of lack. They ask why blessings seem distant while rehearsing disappointment every day. Ancient wisdom suggests that the doorway to abundance begins with perception. Before a person can receive differently, they often must learn to see differently. The spirit of TOOBA teaches exactly that. Gratitude becomes more than a reaction. It becomes a way of seeing life through the lens of divine provision. And once that shift begins, opportunities that were once invisible often become easier to recognize. One of the most overlooked teachings of Jesus is that inner transformation always precedes outer transformation. The world teaches people to change circumstances first and feelings second. Spiritual wisdom often reverses the order. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One spends every day complaining about the difficulty. The other acknowledges the challenge but remains thankful for what still exists. Externally, their situations may look identical. Internally, they are moving in completely different directions. The first person strengthens frustration. The second strengthens faith. The first trains the mind to focus on obstacles. The second trains the mind to recognize possibilities. Over time, these different perspectives begin producing different experiences. This is one reason gratitude appears throughout Scripture. It is not presented merely as a virtue. It is presented as a spiritual orientation, a way of aligning the heart with divine reality. The grateful person becomes more aware of guidance, opportunities, relationships, and blessings that others may overlook. The ancient state of tuba reflects this awareness. It is not denial. It is not pretending that pain does not exist. Instead, it is the decision to recognize that pain is not the whole story. God's presence remains active even in seasons of difficulty. When Jesus taught the Beatitudes, he described people facing real struggles. Yet he called them blessed. Why? Because blessing was not defined solely by circumstances. It was connected to their relationship with God and their awareness of His presence. The same principle remains relevant today. Gratitude does not eliminate every challenge overnight, but it changes the way challenges are experienced. It creates room for hope where fear once dominated. It opens the heart to possibilities that complaint often conceals. And in the next chapter, we will explore a simple nightly practice inspired by tuba that can help transform the atmosphere of your thoughts, your prayers, and your daily life. Thank you for getting this far. If the awakening of consciousness is hitting you hard, it's a sign that you're ready to go deeper. The study guides are waiting for you in the pinned comments. There is a final truth hidden within Tuba that many people never discover. Gratitude is not only about appreciating blessings that already exist, it is also about creating space for transformation. A heart consumed by complaint becomes crowded with frustration, resentment, and discouragement. There is little room left for peace to enter. Ancient spiritual teachers understood this principle well. They taught that the condition of the heart influences the condition of the mind, and together they shape the way a person experiences life. This is why gratitude was considered a spiritual discipline rather than merely an emotional response. When people complain constantly, they unknowingly strengthen the very feelings they wish to escape. Their attention becomes fixed on problems. Their energy follows their focus. Over time, even moments of goodness become harder to recognize because the mind has been trained to search for what is wrong. The spirit of Tuba interrupts this pattern. It invites a person to pause and notice what remains good, true, and meaningful. It reminds them that God's presence is not limited by circumstances. Even during seasons of uncertainty, divine guidance remains available. This understanding helps explain why Jesus continually directed people toward faith rather than fear. Faith is not the denial of difficulty. Faith is the recognition that difficulty does not have the final word. Gratitude becomes an expression of that recognition. The remarkable thing is that this shift often begins with very small moments. A simple prayer, a quiet acknowledgement of a blessing, a conscious decision to focus on what has been given rather than what is missing. These moments may appear insignificant, yet they gradually reshape perception. The ancient wisdom of Tuba teaches that transformation rarely begins with dramatic external events. More often, it begins with a new way of seeing. And once perception changes, life itself begins to look different. The person who learns gratitude discovers that abundance is not merely something to possess. It is first something to recognize. Tonight, before you sleep, find a quiet moment for yourself. Turn away from distractions and allow your breathing to slow naturally. Let the events of the day settle. There is nothing you need to solve right now. Simply become present. Bring to mind 3 things for which you are genuinely grateful. They do not need to be extraordinary. They may be as simple as a friendship, a lesson learned, or another day of life. Allow yourself to feel appreciation rather than merely thinking about it. Now gently repeat the ancient word, Tuba. Pause. Tuba, let the sound remind you of blessedness, gratitude, and inner abundance. Tuba, as you repeat it, release every complaint you have been carrying. Release every frustration that has occupied your attention. Imagine them becoming lighter with each breath. Remember the example of Jesus? Before miracles appeared, he gave thanks. Before visible change arrived, gratitude was already present. Let that same spirit guide your heart tonight. Do not ask whether everything is perfect. Instead, ask yourself whether there is still goodness worth recognizing. There always is. Gratitude opens the eyes to what fear often overlooks. Allow the spirit of Tuba to accompany you into sleep. Let it become the final atmosphere of your mind, and perhaps when you wake tomorrow, you will notice that your circumstances are not the first thing that changed. Your perspective is. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation. I am glad you are here, and I mean that deeply. The fact that you are seeking this knowledge tells me everything about where you are in your journey. Study guides with deeper teachings are waiting for you in the pinned comment below. Before you leave, if this message touched your heart or brought new understanding into your life, WRITE the word restoration in the comments below. Your testimony may encourage someone else who is seeking healing and renewal. Thank you for sharing this moment of ancient wisdom with us. Until the next revelation, walk in peace, walk in freedom, and walk in the power of Ifatha. Be open.